I have a younger husband and he makes me feel sexy. So I feel sexy every day.
Sexuality exists between our ears.
You know what? Self-confidence. I wake up and I look in the mirror and I say, all right, we got this. Let's go. And I just do it. And I feel good about myself, and that makes me feel sexy. It makes me feel relevant.
Do I see myself as sexy? It's funny, I have a partner who makes me feel very sexy, and I think it starts at home.
If a woman feels desirable within herself, men will find her desirable.
If I pull my shoulders back, throw on a colorful scarf, and I'm like ready to go, right? My daughter teases me because she's only 23, but somebody will honk as we're walking by, and I'm like, thank you. She goes, how do you know it wasn't for me, right? You know, it probably was, but what the hell, I'll take it.
Here's what I want to talk about. What happens when the car honks stop? We want to talk about relevance and sexiness when you hit a certain age. Now, there is a newspaper column I read years ago stuck in my mind. I thought it was so interesting because I had not heard this perspective from a woman yet. So the writer is a middle-aged woman, and she said, men don't look at me the way they used to. In general, they don't look at me at all. This is what happens when a woman turns 40, 50, 60, etc. It's a fact of life. I want to discuss now. Number one, is it a fact of life? Have people stopped looking at us ladies? And if they are not looking anymore, is this a good thing or a bad thing? How do we feel about it? Do we still feel relevant and sexy when we're out there in society? I'm not talking about with your partners, because obviously your partners love you. But Teri, how do you feel? Do you still feel that sexual energy when you're out there on the streets? And if you don't, or if you do, how do you feel about that?
I think I'm more aware of my sexual energy now than at the time when I should have been really enjoying my sexual energy.
Right.
Youth is wasted on the young, Trace.
Yes.
And I think, but this is a dicey issue with everything in the news right now.
Oh.
I don't want to identify my sexuality and my sexiness with how men are responding to it.
Fair.
So I'm
That's
hoping
fair.
that there's a dovetailing of the lack of horns and lack of catcalls dovetailing with the fact that men are figuring out that I'm not an object for them anymore. I'm hoping that's the dovetailing and it just hasn't stopped. Is that wrong
Right.
that I'm so confused with those two issues?
No, that is good. That is a very good way of thinking about it. And we discussed that at the meeting. Like, how much of our self-worth are we putting on the car honking? Exactly. But on the other hand, it's a fact of life that as soon as you get to your preteens, men are noticing you in a different way. And when that is pulled away from you, does it affect you? Does it not affect you? Do we care? Or, you know, is it a good thing or a bad thing? I've already told you my thing. I want to be eating donuts and reading books. So I'm not really that concerned about the car honking. You know, a certain amount of anonymity is a good thing to me. How do you feel about it, Janice?
I actually, again, it always comes back to your confidence. Like, I'm just happier, oblivious probably before if I had any attention. But now I'm a lot more confident. And so I don't think, as Teri's saying, I don't think I projected. I just think it's more of a confidence I project. And I don't want that. Like, I don't want that sexual tension, that I don't want it put on me. I don't. My daughter called me yesterday that she was very upset that she was getting catcalled out of the school, in front of her school by people driving by. She's 14, and it scared her.
Getting it doesn't ever make me feel good, and I think that's always something that I was like, what is that supposed to make me feel like?
Yeah.
I think I look good. I don't care that you think I look good. If you want to tell me, like, hey, you're looking good, thank you, respectfully. Hey, Chicky Brittle, does nothing for me.
So. Okay, so let's flip it then. Let's talk about respectfully. What about men just flirting? What about people just flirting? Like, what if it's not like a gross, creepy come on? What if it's just a man showing some kind of interest in a gentlemanly way? It doesn't happen as often. Do you care?
Yeah, I care when I'm with my 25-year-old friends and we walk down the street and the boys are all looking at them, because it's a change.
It's a reminder.
Yeah,
I think it's a reminder.
It's not a bad thing.
Maybe that's not a big deal, but it's a reminder.
It's a reminder, and I know that it's changed, but I feel so much better now than I felt then. And maybe I know that I am so much more than the way I look. I'm vain. Well, I know I like to put on makeup and get all dressed up, but I also feel like I don't care about your attention.
Exactly. Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
But this is the 40s and the perimenopause. I'm like, bite me.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Mine is more than I feel
you
like.
Got 10 seconds.
My brain is sexy, so I want people to like me for my brain.
Sure is.
Not this.